Welcome to Wednesday. It's January 27th, 2021. Well, it's been downright cold here lately. Things have really gotten colder and more like winter. We're not breaking any winter records at all, but certainly it's been colder than it's been all winter here recently. But a Chinook is going to come in as we work our way into the next few days. Downsloping westerly winds off the Front Range will bring warmer temperatures to the plains and areas east of the Divide. Chinook means snow eater. It's an Indian term, as those westerly winds will melt the snow that has fallen in some areas. But the southwest winds, while warming us up, will cause blowing and drifting snow on some roads and highways. So folks traveling, especially along the higher elevations, the mountain passes, Interstate 80, some of those roads and highways that go through the mountain gaps, you're going to have some blowing snow, especially today, tonight, and tomorrow. So keep that in mind. We have another trough arriving for late Friday night and the Saturday. It's a quick mover. We don't think it's going to be a big weather maker other than to produce a quick shot of snow in the high country, a few snow showers on the plains. But really, between today and early next week, we don't see any significant weather. Now, for the United States, it is a very active pattern. Next week and the week after that, we see a lot of winter coast to coast. We're going to keep an eye on a larger storm for this region around Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Is February looking like it's going to finally be cold? Are we going to finally have some prolonged cold, or the chance of it? Well, some tantalizing hints that maybe February is going to be the coldest winter month for this part of the country. We'll take a look at that as well. Want to update you on the latest drought monitor situation. While there has been some help here with the snowstorm this past week, look at the western and central United States. Drought conditions and very dry conditions continue. Although there's going to be an uptick in precipitation, the dryness continues in this La Nina-dominated weather pattern for the western United States. There's a little bit of help, though, coming here over the next few weeks, but it won't be enough to change the colors on this map, I'm afraid to say. Quickly looking at snowpack. Anywhere you see yellow, orange, or red, you've got snowpacks that are pretty far below average. Anywhere you see green, you're getting close to average. Where you start to see blues, you're well above average. As you can see, the only good snowpacks are way up here. Snowpacks in Montana, parts of Washington and Oregon, while they were doing much better a few weeks ago, have really not seen much snow. You can see the reds down here in parts of New Mexico, parts of Utah, parts of the Sierra Nevada. We have a lot of yellow and orange, which basically means snowpacks are about 60 to 80% of average. So snowpacks continue to suffer. Now, we have seen in La Ninas in the past a big run up in snow in the high country late in the winter season and early spring. So we may see these snowpack figures better than this by the end of the season. We certainly hope so. We're going to see some big help here coming soon to California. I'll show you that here in a minute. Closer in, these are the snowpack conditions across Wyoming. You can see that only the Yellowstone Basin is above 90%. Elsewhere, very just not good snowpacks. They're not awful. There's a lot of time to catch up, but certainly the snowpacks are as low as they've been this late in the season. We've got to go back to the last La Nina this time of year to see it really this low. Colorado is only a little bit better in the southern ranges of Colorado. The northern and central and northwest mountains of Colorado, those snowpack drainages, a lot like what they are in Wyoming in the middle 70s. Now let's take a look and see how the weather unfolds here. Today, the upper level pattern is going to form a little bit of a high pressure ridge. This is what is going to be bringing this westerly flow. This storm that's coming down the west coast, is this going to slide down here and park itself and stay put for a couple of days? That's going to bring this westerly downsloping Chinook flow and give us a more mild pattern. Now, part of that system does break off, and we have this wave coming in Friday night and Saturday. So it is going to produce a little bit of weather as it moves through, but it's not going to hold together really well. It is going to get going again by the weekend in the Midwest, but as it comes through the Rockies, it's going to get split into two. It's just not going to be able to maintain itself, and that's really been the story for most of this winter season. The moisture, though, you can see what happens to it. Look at all the rain that's going to fall in California, heavy snow in the Sierras. But the further east you get off the coast, because the system is breaking apart, You can see along and east of the divide, there's that snow hole again. You're just really not going to get much out of this. This precipitation right here is after the low comes over the divide and picks up Gulf of Mexico moisture and then heads up through Kansas, parts of Iowa, and parts of the Midwest as we get into the weekend. So there's going to be another snow event there as we go through the weekend. Now, let's talk about the long term because it's tantalizing in terms of what could be on the table next week. I'm going to show you two different scenarios. Both of these scenarios I'm showing you are completely legitimate. I do think it's going to be one or the other. This is the scenario being advertised by the European model. This is by next Thursday. This would be the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. We got a deep winter storm. This is a big winter storm. Probably the biggest winter storm in the central and western United States this winter season, but it's a model. So this is make-believe. This is just the model saying this is what could happen. This would open the door to Canada, allowing Arctic air in on the backside. This would draw in a significant amount of moisture from the Gulf, and you'd get a lot of wind and a deep storm system right here with wind and snow affecting the whole high plains and the eastern side of the Rocky Mountain West around Tuesday night, Wednesday, into early Thursday of next week. This is the European model. This is a good setup. A high in the southeast United States. As we all know, if you watch these podcasts, you know we got to have that high in the eastern Pacific and the Gulf of Alaska. It's there. So the table is set right here for a pretty big storm by the middle of next week. However, it's a computer model. Look at what the differences are between this model and the American model. Well, a lot. Instead of the storm centered over portions of Kansas and being a really well-organized storm, we have a stretched out storm that goes all the way down into the desert Southwest. The storm basically gets kind of stretched apart. This would still be a significant storm system, but for more of this part of the country here, it would also open the door to cold air for Canada. So regardless of which model is right, it's going to be getting colder by the middle to the end of next week. But we're going to put a big question mark on that. We're going to put a big question mark on this as well. But if you're a weather watcher, you like winter storms, keep an eye on the middle of next week. We'll update you as the week wears on to see whether or not this actually happens or not. But it certainly is something that we're going to need to keep an eye on. This is what the European model is predicting over the next 10 days. If that European model solution comes into play, that's a lot of snow, folks. This is going to be a very snowy, stormy pattern out here on the plains up into the northwestern areas of the Corn Belt, New England, parts of the East Coast. Look at all the snows coming into the mountains of the Pacific Northwest and the Sierra Nevada. So things are getting ramped up and getting a lot more active. This is after the storm by next Saturday. The door to Canada is open. It is going to be getting a lot colder, and this little wave right here will likely grab more cold air, pull it down in behind it. This all adds up to a really cold February. Now, one look, if we were to go out around the 10th and the 11th of February, this is Arctic air. These are minus 40 relative to average. So you're looking at anywhere in this purple going below zero, especially up here in the northern areas. Again, this is a computer model, but there are tantalizing hints that February is going to be a colder month for the central and western areas of the United States. We'll keep an eye on this and see if this transpires. Now let's take a look at the big scale in terms of the large things we look at that could definitely give us this colder wintry pattern. Here's the Arctic oscillation still in the negative phase, and since it's gone negative, we have gotten colder. We haven't seen the Arctic air, but certainly since the Arctic oscillation's gone negative, we've gone colder. It stays negative all the way through the next 2 weeks, but notice it getting more negative right around that February 9th, 10th, 11th time frame. The North Pacific and the North Atlantic oscillations are strongly negative in that same time frame. Now, all we need is the Eastern Pacific oscillation to be negative for the same time frame for that confidence in that Arctic air coming in, moving in, and there it is. The Eastern Pacific oscillation right now is in a positive phase, but goes negative and gets very negative during that time frame. If this holds for another few days, our confidence in a cold February are going to be growing. Now, some folks have asked me, well, if the ocean basins get colder And if we see those sea surface temperatures dropping, will that make global temperatures colder? Well, here's your answer. There has been a significant drop in global temperatures. This is derived from satellite temperature data, not ground-based temperatures like from airports or where you get the urban heat island effect. This is based on satellite. The global temperature anomaly dropped all the way to 0.27 degrees Celsius in 1 month from some higher conditions up here. And you're likely going to see in the month of January and the month of February, the global temperature trends probably doing something like this for the next couple of months. If you were to go back and look at these solar minimums, and if you were to go back and look at the strong La Niñas, you tend to see dips in global temperatures. When was the last solar minimum? 11 years ago, 2010, 2011. Well, look what happened. Global temperatures dropped during that time frame, and that's going to happen again because the ocean basins rule the climate more than a lot of folks realize. So when you see these fluctuations in global temperatures, there's a strong correlation to what the sea surface temperatures are doing across the globe. So this will be something to keep an eye on as we get into the next 2 or 3 months with these ocean basins continuing to get colder. Thanks for listening and watching the Day Weather Podcast. We'll update you on Thursday.